I'm Stephanie Guest, the creator of Sunset Chaser, the graphic novel, and you're listening to the True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to celebrate Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with Stephanie Guest about her graphic novel Sunset Chaser, available on Kickstarter. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Stephanie Guest is the owner of Saka Sketches and an up-and-coming comic creator. Her first published comic, I Used to Be a Magical Girl, brings humor and nostalgia to the ever-aging millennial population. Her latest project is a 224-page graphic novel entitled Sunset Chaser, available through Kickstarter. Sunset Chaser is described as a love story about letting go that focuses on two boys who fall in love while traveling Europe during a gap year. Readers will be entranced with an offering that follows an unlikely love story and a sense of togetherness and familial bonds. So without further ado, here's my chat with Stephanie Guest about her graphic novel, Sunset Chaser, available on Kickstarter.
So Stephanie Guest, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
No worries. Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Before we get going with all the questions, I would like to know, what was the first comic book that you read?
Yeah, I was reading comics since I was a kid, but the first one that I read and loved was Sailor Moon, back when it was coming out in the floppies. I do remember that I used to go into the comic shop here in Winnipeg, and the girl who worked there would always save Sailor Moon for me every month behind the counter. So they knew me as like the Sailor Moon girl who would come in. And do you remember one month I went and she had also saved the first floppy of, she said, something new she thought I would like, and that was Cardcaptor Sakura. So it's her fault that I'm into comics and manga.
Well, that's very influential. I hear a lot of people who are into that. That's really cool growing up. But I'm wondering, who or what inspires you to create today?
Yeah, I get inspiration from everywhere. I'm still really into animes. I get inspired from that. But honestly, anything, songs, I listen to lots of music, TV shows, movies. I like things that are funny, but have a little bit of a darker edge to them and a little bit of heart to them. Like I really liked How I Met Your Mother because it was really funny, but there was a lot of sadness and real human emotion in it too. So things like that that have the real human side to them, I get inspired by. And then also here in Winnipeg, we have a really vibrant comics community, which is awesome. And just being surrounded by that all the time is really inspiring and keeps me wanting to be a part of it and create new work. I especially really like Curb Angels, the female empowerment, the whole punk movement, the art style being really manga inspired. That was very inspiring to me as well.
Cool. Now, we met up at the Prairie Comics Fest last year. I wanted to get your feedback on that. How did that go for you?
Yeah, it was awesome. I love Prairie Comics Festival. I'm on the board there, so I've only got great things to say about it. It's a really, really fun event, and I feel really lucky to have something like that here in Winnipeg. Yeah, it was really, really fun, and I look forward to being a part of it every year.
Because you're on the board, maybe you could give like an elevator pitch for people who are not familiar with that event. Maybe a couple things about why it's great. Why should people come out to it?
Sure. So like I said, we have a really vibrant comics and art community here in Winnipeg. And I think that that's really reflected at Prairie Comics Festival. Our entire board and everyone who volunteers with the organization is really just passionate about comics and bringing more comics to the community and getting more people involved in comics. And you can really feel that at the festival itself and at all the events that we do throughout the year as well. Everyone is just really, really passionate. Everyone wants to help. I have noticed, you ask anyone a question and they'll very much be like, let me tell you about comics. Let me help you with your process. Do you have any more questions? Here's where you can reach out to me. So it's a truly aggressively supportive environment, which is fantastic. Everyone's just really enthusiastic. So it's really, really fun.
Yeah, I got a great feeling when I was there. I was only there for the day, of course, but it was wonderful meeting everybody, and I could sense that camaraderie in the room as well. So good stuff for sure.
Fantastic.
So we're here talking about your latest project, Sunset Chaser, your graphic novel. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the story. What is it all about?
So basically, it's like Heartstopper meets The Fault in Our Stars. So it's basically a coming of age story about 20 somethings traveling around Europe during their gap year. So the premise is that this boy, Will, is basically just going through the motions of life. He's lacking a little bit of direction. He's not sure what to do. And his older sister, Ella, graduates from university. She's going on this 6 month long backpacking trip across Europe, and he just sort of tags along with her for something to do. So the story opens when they meet this other boy, Ryan, who, spoiler alert, Will and Ryan fall in love, but Ryan's actually sick and that's why he's traveling. He, of course, doesn't tell Will that right away. So things start to fall apart a little bit. I won't spoil the whole book, but it is definitely like there's some sad elements to it. And like I said, with my inspiration, there's some really fun elements to it as well. But it definitely is a very human story. I also wanted to lean into the angle of it being a queer book that wasn't solely focused on being a coming out story. I think there's a lot of queer stories centered around that, but I really just wanted to tell a story about growing up and learning who you are while also being queer. I think those types of stories are really important. Queer youth do have a lot of unique challenges, but they also have a lot of the same challenges, and I wanted that kind of representation as well. So there is a bit of a coming out aspect to it, but it is really minimal and it's more just focused on figuring out who you are.
Right, right. Now you're launching your graphic novel on Kickstarter,
Yeah, that's right.
which is wonderful. I'm wondering if you could talk about some of the incentives you plan to offer your backers.
Yeah, so I do plan to offer the main reward is the physical printed book, which will be printed right here in Manitoba. So along with that, I am also offering an enamel pin as an add-on. I started my art business, started doing and designing enamel pins, so I thought that would be fun to tie the two aspects of my business together. So it's a little enamel pin that's a airplane ticket to Dublin to tie into the whole European travel portion of it. And a large part of the book takes place in Ireland as well. So there's that. And there's also a couple larger tiers where you can actually have the opportunity to be in the book. So I would draw you as a character in the book who introduces the two main characters, Will and Ryan, or there's a little bit less where you could be just in one of the Polaroids. So a lot of the book takes place through snapshots. So you could be a character that's in the background interacting with the characters in one of those Polaroid snapshots. So there's a wide variety of backing tiers.
Right. Now, I wanted to switch gears a wee bit and talk about your creative process. Can you walk me through how you made your book?
So this was actually a novel first that I wrote back in, I think, 2013 or 2014. Once I had finished that first draft of it, I knew that I really loved the story and I wanted to do something more with it, but I wasn't really sure what. So I sat on it for a number of years, and then I started getting more involved in the arts and tabling at conventions and started doing comics in, I think, 2022. So after I did my first comic book, I was thinking about what I could do for my second, and I ended up coming back to this idea and decided to adapt it into a graphic novel format. I had no idea how to do that. So I engaged Sam Biko here as a comprehensive editor. She basically told me, okay, the first thing you need to do is pull out all the dialogue and create a script, and we'll go from there. So we created a script. She helped me tighten it up and make the story really solid. And from there, I think we cut it into pages, and I started doing just pages one by one. So I would do one full page, draw out all the thumbnails, pencils, ink, color, and then move on to the next page. So I would do one full page at a time and just slowly but surely keep working through that.
Now, are you a traditional or digital artist?
Digital primarily. I did the whole comic in Create on my iPad.
And that gives you the portability. I hear from a lot of people whenever the inspiration strikes them, having an iPad can really be helpful for that.
Yeah, for sure. I really like drawing outside of the home. So I'll go to coffee shops. I do rent space in our Prairie Comics Festival studio in the Exchange District here. So I hang out there a lot, bring my iPad, draw there. But I like to sit in coffee shops and sit and draw and just sort of be in the environment around me. So it's great.
Does it give you any inspiration being in that particular location for your book?
Yeah, for sure. I do like being around, like in a busy coffee shop. I often will sit there without headphones on and just listen to the environment around me. Yeah, it does. Like having a lot of people around, it really does energize me and inspire me. So Definitely, yeah.
Good to hear. Now, we've been talking about your new graphic novel, Sunset Chaser, but I'm wondering, do you have any other projects on the go that you can talk about?
So now that this one is sort of wrapping up and going into the Kickstarter phase, I'm always thinking, what am I going to do next? What am I going to draw next? So I have a couple of ideas. I think I'm going to do a shorter zine about my dog who is a black lab, and she gets into all kinds of mischief. So I just felt that would be something fun and light and a bit of a palate cleanser after drawing something that at the end it gets quite sad. So I think I'm going to just draw pictures of my dog and turn it into a zine. I've also spent a lot of my career in tech, so I've got a bit of a unique perspective being a woman in the technology space. So I think I'll do a bit of a zine about that. Yeah, so things like that. I'm going to knock out a couple of zines, maybe in time for Prairie Comics Festival this year. We'll see, before moving on to whatever my next big project will be.
Now, you mentioned the Prairie Comics Fest. You're going to be going there. Are there any other events you have lined up, or is it too early to ask that?
So I am going to be at Calgary Expo this year. I'm also going to be at Fan Expo Canada in Toronto in August. I'll be at Winnipeg Comic Con here in the fall. And I've also got applications out for VanCaf and TCAP. So just waiting to hear back on those.
Super. Lots of stuff on the go. So
yeah,
between events and books and zines, where do you recommend that people go online to find out more about you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram under my business name is Saka Sketches. So SAKASKETCHES. Yeah, mostly Instagram is where I'm most active. I'm also under the same handle on Blue Sky, but I do tend to be a bit more active on Instagram.
Great. Well, Stephanie, those are all the questions I have, but I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
I'm really excited to be working on this book. I can't believe that it's already at the point where I'm talking about it and promoting it and going into Kickstarter. I've been working on this. It feels like forever. Really just hunkering down and working on the comic for the last 2 years. And then, as I said, I wrote the novel 10 years or so ago. So it's awesome to actually get it out into the world. I truly can't believe this is happening.
Thanks to Stephanie for the chat. You can discover more about Stephanie Guest on Instagram at Saka Sketches. And you can discover more about Sunset Chaser on Kickstarter. And thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to even more conversations with creators about making comic books and graphic novels. I also encourage you to subscribe via the website so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media sites. And you're encouraged to send any and all feedback to John at truenorthcountrycomics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2026.